All right, guys. Well, I am thrilled that we have this time together. This whole Peace Wave Summit has been inspired by the work that we've been doing together. And the idea of a compassion game, the idea of a synergizing expression in the world that is social change 2.0, that makes the game of serving community, a billion acts in the world. I mean, those are all ideas that have swirled between us. And I'm thrilled to have you, David Gershon, and you, Matt Turner, here talking with the audience of this online Peace Wave Summit to talk about creating peace on Earth by 2030. And it was really a beautiful fire that's brought us here, David, with you and what you did with the first Earth Run and how that turned out being a partnership that got forged in the global fire of one love in Ethiopia and introducing us to serve community and what, Matt, you've been building with your brother and your team through Hustlers for Humanity and Serve Community. So I want to ask you both. I want to first off give you a chance to share anything about this game that we are inventing together, but about the work that you're doing. And do you think it's possible if we could, can we create peace on Earth by 2030? David, what do you think?
Well, I would say not only can we, I would say we will create peace on Earth by 2030, and not just as wishful thinking, but because we are building a means to achieve that from the bottom up, one person, one act at a time, the 7 actions to create peace on Earth, if scaled, which is where Matt and the Serve community come in, and you on your end of that, could create a ripple effect. The world wants it. The world needs it. The world has recognized that it can't come from 1.0 government. It's just not how it works. And that fundamentally it's about how we relate to other human beings. And if we can start to change how we engage with other people, and use each of these 7 actions strategically and scale it primarily through the young people right now on planet Earth who already see this as the truth and have been looking for a means and a way to do it, I think we have every possibility. I also think the forces at play in the universe, spiritually speaking, and just emerging with young people on the planet right now in terms of the zeitgeist, are all aligning. So I think it's really, if we don't achieve it, it's for lack of our own imagination and creativity, not for lack of people's willingness and desire. And I think we do have the imagination and creativity and the will. So with great joy and pleasure, it is a great adventure we're on to play with you guys to make that a reality.
Beautiful, David. Wow. I'm so glad the audience gets to hear that. That is so well said. Matt, what do you think?
Thank you.
You know, I feel like peace is, it's this thing that sometimes feels really intangible. But it's actually a lot more simple than we think. It's really something that comes down to each person and their relationship with their inner self, and how that relates to the outer world. But it's something that we all have the ability to take responsibility for, is our own level of peace that we have in our own life. And it's really something that's really simple. It's something we have to choose every moment. And then that's how we treat people around us in our day-to-day interactions. And peace on Earth is really just that in unison, where people are doing that at scale collectively all over the world. It's not this big thing that we have to go out and try to accomplish out in the world, and that can seem really daunting if we look at it that way. It's actually just people individually choosing it, but doing it in harmony and in unison with each other. And I think with where technology is today, you know, we have social networks that already have billions of people using them. So we've already built technology that has scaled around the entire world. So we've come to a place in society where we have already created things en masse around the world. And what we're doing here around the Peace on Earth game is really putting that into very tangible, simple steps that can be taken by individuals in harmony and unison with each other all over the world at the same time. So I definitely think it's possible, and I believe that we're doing it, just like David said. And the time's really come for us to be able to do it in scale because of just the evolution of where the planet is. So I'm really excited to be working on this. There's no better time to do it than now. And I think all the pieces are in place and the demand for it in the world is here. So it feels really right to me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'd love the audience to know a little bit more about Serve Community and what you see Serve contributing to the 7 actions to create peace on earth and this wave that's rising now.
Yeah, Serve Community is something that my 2 business partners and I have been working on for a number of years. It's something that started here in Santa Barbara, where we're located. And it really began with something called the Hustlers for Humanity, which is our team-based approach to making the world better here in Santa Barbara. Because just like we talked about a minute ago around peace on earth being something that we choose every day, just serving the world and making the world better is something that each of us gets to choose every day too. And our intention around the Hustlers was to make that more fun and engaging by doing it in the collective as a team approach. Because we're in a beautiful community here in Santa Barbara. There's a lot of great nonprofits and things being done, but there's still that sense of disconnect for the average person around whether their little bit of volunteerism or philanthropy or engagement with the community, whether that actually makes a difference. Because if we're not doing it in unison with each other and we're not able to manage and track our progress, it seems really daunting to take on the issues of the day. But the truth is there's great people everywhere around us doing great things. We just haven't found a way to collectively manage and monitor that progress yet in a way that gives us a sense of real impact that's actually happening. So that's really what we set about to achieve with the Hustlers, is we started doing that. We started recruiting people onto a team approach, just like a sports team would. You have players on a team, and only our goal is not to go, say shoot hoops in a basket like basketball. Our goal is to serve the community together and track that and make it fun. And so we started doing that, and it was really taking off because the idea is really simple and understandable to people. People are doing things like that all the time. And what we found was we could create a model around that by using technology to not only scale that across our whole town, but we could actually do it on a global level. We could create a whole system approach to collective community serving the world together. And so that's what we set about to achieve about 3 years ago when we started this project. And now we're getting ready to start testing some of those ideas more tangibly here in Santa Barbara and also in Kabul, Afghanistan. And what we're finding is younger people are really drawn to this idea because they already have it kind of built into their systems to want to make a difference in the world. They don't need to be taught or told they have to do that. They already want to do it. What they're lacking is the agency to go about doing that and the tools that kind of unite them with people around the world that show them that, wow, we're actually a lot more the same than we are different. And if we teamed up and organized our efforts, we could really create any change in the world we wanted to create. And so that's what we've set about to create with Serve Community. And, obviously we've been really grateful to work with both of you on the project, and we're excited to share those ideas more as we move forward. But we think we've really created a model that can scale around the world and unite people around the core common causes that matter to all of us.
Yeah. Wow. That's so fabulous, Matt. And, being a part of this, it's just like a dream come true. I mean, how we ended up in Kabul, Afghanistan, where someone has embraced your work, David. And when you say the term agency, Matt, it's got to make David's heart sing, because the vision of empowering the world and seeing that the first school is the Marifat High School that we're working in. And David, I'd love you to share with us how we ended up having the relationship with Aziz Rayesh and the work that's happening there, and how you see that all playing out as we build this collective capacity to create peace on earth during these 7 actions.
So let me build some context for this game, and then I'll get to Afghanistan. So right now, one of the greatest challenges we face as a species isn't climate change or even peace on earth or how to deal with terrorism, all these things going on in Kabul right now. It's the belief that we don't have a future. It's looking into the future and seeing no way to get from where we are to a new place. And so part of what is necessary is to get humanity to believe in our future. And one of the things that I have worked hard on is getting people to embrace big ideas that seem impossible, but showing them that it is possible. And that started in 1986 with the first Earth Run. We passed a torch of peace around the world, and it should not have happened. We got 1 billion people following us via media. We had 25 million people involved. We had all the heads of state, from Gorbachev to Reagan to the president of China. And wherever we went, there was peace on earth. And out of that, we realized something happened. And there was a deep knowledge transfer to me individually about why that happened. And when I stepped back, I began to call out 7 distinct practices that enabled the world to unite and create peace on earth for 86 days. And the question became, if it could happen for 86 days, the heart of the and the most contracted time in the world, when America and Russia were about to blow each other up through a nuclear holocaust, well, and we could create a pause mechanism. We could create something that shifted the energy. What would it look like if we extrapolated that and built it into a movement that was transcendent of a polarizing moment in time and just took it global? And that's what this Peace on Earth game is. It's those 7 actions. And they all were the things that made it work. And recently I've been working with a colleague of mine on another project, which is on changing the game around the development space. And one of my colleagues was this man, Aziz Royesh, who is the founder of a school called the Marifat High School in Afghanistan. And we were working on this empowerment process, women's empowerment in particular, and youth empowerment. And we kept having all our calls postponed because every call there was a terrorist attack. And yet another 200 people were killed in Kabul. And every call was this profound therapeutic conversation about how to deal with such an environment, with all the students, many of the students getting killed, and mosques being blown up, and family members. I mean, it's hard to even put into words the pain that he has experienced.
Huh.
And he decided, among other things, he was going to run for parliament. But he knew from my work together around this notion of social change 2.0 that a political intervention wasn't going to get the job done. It had to come from the bottom up. It had to come from people who saw the world differently and started acting differently based on that. So I threw the idea out. I said, this Peace on Earth game we're playing with, would you like to pilot it? Would you like to be ground zero in Kabul for this game? And he said, absolutely, he would. And he asked his students, and they said yes. And we're now in the middle of this game, and they are now reaching out and doing the most amazing things. The first action is befriend the other, someone you would never talk to speak to. And they're reaching out to people and they're befriending them, people that would be unimaginable that they would ever speak to. They're the people that are their enemies, or the people that have ostracized them. They're a minority group, and it's working, and it's profoundly inspiring and hopeful. So what's very profound now is that this Peace on Earth game, based on these 7 actions that grew out of a profound learning experience at the scale of the planet, where there was deep knowledge acquired, is now on the ground, in of all places. And they now are so proud that the thought that this game could scale around the world and touch 1 billion people, and 100 million people on September 20th, 2020, the game that you're involved in helping us launch this, inspires them profoundly. Kabul, of all places, the launch of Peace on Earth, on planet Earth.
Yes.
In 2030.
Yeah. And it's amazing. A week or so, 2 weeks into this, we hear about peace breaking out in Afghanistan and people really coming together to say enough of this killing, and walking into mosques in a matter of minutes, people laying down their arms. I mean, it is such a great spot to have this grow from. and how this ties into this vision of piloting and designing and developing this game to be available eventually to the world on September 20th, 2020, to really take us all to the next level of achieving the goals, the global goals, affirming the oneness of humanity, and reinventing the planet in time to celebrate the achieving peace on earth by 2030. I mean, this is such a game worth playing. This is worthy of my life, David. Thank you, David. Thank you, Matt. It's really unbelievable that we're really engaging in doing this. And I want all the people to know that this is an opportunity for us to rise together. Wow. So anything else you want to say? Anything else you want to share before we move on to the next part of this summit? I'm just so excited to share you guys with the world.
You know, the one thing I'll throw in is that I think what you were saying about this peace movement happening in Afghanistan right now, it says so much. You know, the idea that some of these people that are, you know, walking into these mosques and then people are laying down their arms and, you know, I think people are more excited and willing to embrace this sense of togetherness than sometimes we believe. And what it takes is people that are willing to take the first step and put out a new vibration and open up and be a little vulnerable. And when you do that, it gives somebody else a space to do something different too. And it's really like our fears around each other and giving up our sense of identity is at the core of so much that's going on in the world. And when you're willing to open yourself up and be vulnerable and act differently and more lovingly or with more compassion, you create a new ripple that puts an energy out into the field that can change people in ways that you might not think is possible. And what I'd encourage is for people to have more belief that others are different and more willing to change than you might believe right now. Because if we hold on to the idea that the other is scary or that this group of people doesn't like people and is these terrorists, or it's when we label and put these judgments on whole groups of people that we're just as much a part of the problem as they are. Because in our world that we're creating every minute in our reality, we're putting out this idea that there's this group of people that's upset, that's angry, that we should fear, and we're creating that into the world. So it goes back to what I was saying at the beginning of the call. It's really about what each of us individually is putting out into the world at any moment. What's our belief system that we're operating by? What's the filter that we're seeing others through? And if we can be more in tune with that and be willing to change that, we can create more change much more quickly than most of us believe.
Yeah, no, that's so beautifully said, Matt. In fact, so interesting to me, evidence of that change happening was in one of the stories was they said there are hugs and selfies. In other words, the person that you were fighting with a minute ago, you lay down their arms, you hug, and you take a picture of the two of you together. That is a sign of that change of behavior happening. And it's actually for the medium in which we live. Hugs and selfies was described. I just thought that was just a perfect kind of moment for our time. David, what about you? Any other insights?
Yeah. I'll add a little story that I was really touched by in the last call we had with our wonderful students in Kabul. And there was a young girl, probably about 16 or 17, and she had taken on the assignment. And the assignment was to reach out to between 1 to 3 people every day who you did not know, which we thought was an audacious request, but they did not bat an eyelash. They just went for it. And when I asked her, like, okay, she was so excited, she had connected with everyone. I said, well, what did you say to get this result? She said, will you be my friend? And they all said, of course, I'd love to be your friend. What a great gift this is that someone asked me to be their friend. And so befriend the other, very simply, for her, translated as, I want you to be my friend. And it had such a purity, and she took it so literally that I've been practicing it myself. I was like, okay, who would I not want to talk to? Would you be my friend? So I'm trying to learn from my wonderful student friend in Kabul to befriend the other in the most pure-hearted of all ways. And so to Matt's point, you know, it really isn't that complicated if we just are willing to go and try it out. And the other 6 actions are equally not complicated. The reason they exist is because they are so profoundly obvious. What we've just needed is a format to act on them. And let's see if we can get 1 billion or 2 people creating peace on earth. We don't need that many. 35 million probably will get us there, but we'll see if we can what would be the word? Overachieve.
Hey, 2.5 billion people on Facebook. So it's happening. The world's coming together. It's so beautiful, David. It's so great, Matt. Thank you guys for sharing this. And we look forward to building the 7 actions out and making this game on this platform, Epic, the empowerment platform for impacting community, the Serve Community, and the Empowerment Institute, and the Compassion Games. We are synergizing to do this. And I'm thankful to both of you for sharing this with Peace Wave Summit.